All right, guys, welcome in. This is the Weekend Update presented by CoolBet. And as you can see, we brought another friend from CoolBet. This is Andrew, the Hustler Paterson. I don't know if you like to go by Hustler or Mr. Patterson, but we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, it's not Mr. Patterson. You can call me Andrew. You can call me Hustler, whatever you guys want, boys. Thanks for having me. Great to hook up with some other guys on the CoolBet team. Let's get after it.
That's right. We're all about CoolBet team. And yesterday, I think that our CoolBet administration team paid the refs in that Vegas Golden Knights game. But we'll get to that. I mean, it kind of, I had the Knights on the money line, but we'll get to that. Let's jump right into, the topic of the whole day so far. This hit Mark Scheifele laid on Jake Evans.
Yeah, needless to say, everyone in the hockey world's been talking about it. It was a devastating hit. It was really unfortunate. It was scary. This was a guy that was knocked out. And you saw on the ice afterwards, as mad as the Habs were, there was Nikolai Ehlers and the linesman keeping everyone away because there was some legitimate concern. First things first, It's great to know that he didn't have to be hospitalized. It sounds like he is feeling better, although he's out indefinitely with concussion, and you don't like to see that. The thing that's amazing about this hit, guys, is that I have heard, on Winnipeg Sports Talk today, we were literally 2 hours on it. Jeremy Roenick came on. Ken Wiebe from Sportsnet jumped on. We talked about it. Invaded by Habs fans, of course, in the chat who were not too pleased. But the differing opinions on this hit is I can't remember a situation where you had people like it was so black and white to people. Mark Scheifele should be suspended for the rest of the playoffs, or hey, it's playoff hockey. Keep your head up. He didn't. It wasn't a headshot. It wasn't. That's the game. Listen. I think the truth is somewhere in between. And I think that's why we'll be hearing very soon about a suspension for Mark Scheifele. I'm guessing 2 games. It could be more. Maybe less, but anyways, I'm expecting 2 games in the playoffs. And listen, it kills the Jets in 2 ways. Not having Scheifele when you're already missing Paul Stastny, you lose Dylan DeMello right off the bat. It's just devastating for the Jets. Scheifele is such an important part of their attack. And listen, they're a deeper team right now, but think of what happened to Winnipeg in the playoffs last August when Scheifele was out 5 minutes into the series and it was effectively over. Right. So, it really puts them having already lost a game and being down 1-0 to the Habs to have to go in and play without Scheifele for likely at least the next couple games. As I said, we'll hear from George Peros as to what he thinks. It puts them in a real bad spot. And then you think about what the Habs have been through to this point. I think it was natural to think that maybe with all the grinding that they've played, the amount of hockey compared to Winnipeg, there might have been a let up at some point in a game or two. I'm not counting on that now. I think this team is going to be galvanized. I think they're going to be playing pissed off on a mission, not necessarily to go and settle every score. But the best way the Montreal Canadiens can get back to the Winnipeg Jets is to punt them out of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And that's what they're going to be looking to do. So it has been fascinating. I'm sure you guys have talked about it already. There's some people that, want Scheifele in jail and others that think it was no big deal. As I said, Jeremy Roenick came on the program today. I can't say I was surprised that he didn't really have a problem with it. Said it was a hockey play, if you will. And listen, it was charging. There's no doubt about it. The guy goes 180 feet to, he's back checking. I don't think for a minute that he was thinking the entire way down he was going to go and blow up Jake Evans. He was trying to save the game, but he made a terrible decision at a time that put another player in jeopardy. And the way hockey works right now is he's going to get dinged for it. So it puts the Jets in a real tough spot, and I think that is going to be something that Montreal can really use to help them in this series, being up 1-0.
Well, yeah. And go ahead, Chad. Because I know you got an opinion on this as a former enforcer in hockey.
It's not the fact about being an enforcer. It's the fact that it's the generation that's coming up now. It's a powder puff fucking league. You can't look at anybody the wrong way. You can't skate near anybody the wrong way. The puck was right there. And that's what people don't understand. Did he skate at the length of an ice? Yes. He didn't take a stride from the top of the circle. Mm-hmm. If he wanted to kill him, he could have killed him. It's that simple. And yeah, everyone's like, it wasn't a hockey play. He headhunted. I don't think he did. That puck was in his feet. If he doesn't make that play, the game is over 100%. Unfortunately, the puck went in the net for the Jets anyways. Unfortunately for Evans, I don't even think it was the hit. Yeah, I think the hit hurt him, but it's when he landed on his face. And playing hockey my whole life, when I was 6 years old, you got taught to keep your head up. There was even contact with it back then. If you're gonna come flying around the net with your head down, I'm sorry, you don't do that. Mm-hmm. And the difference is when we played hockey, that was a normal thing. But in the way the game's been now played and the way that society is, where everybody's soft and there's no retaliation and you can't do anything without being criticized online. It's just the fact that it's a joke, and he shouldn't be suspended. It was a hockey play. And I think everybody that's online, and you said messaging you during your show today, all those people doing that should have never played hockey. They're just a bunch of people smashed on their keyboards and they didn't get lives.
It's really funny that you say that because, as I said, we had Ronak on today and he said something very similar to it. And I won't mention the person, but I texted with a former member of the Canadiens that has played quite recently with them and asked them straight up, give me the goods. What do you think about the hit? And said, I thought it was a great hit. Sending a message, going to be a long series, won't get pushed around like Toronto. Evans needs to know he's going to get hit there, exactly like you said, Chad, and needs to take some responsibility. As I said, the truth is somewhere in the middle, I think. And but I will say this: if Evans doesn't get hurt and land on his head the way that he did, and gets up and gives Scheifele a shot, and there's a big scrum, nobody's having these conversations today. I mean, I certainly think this is because he got hurt, not because it was the most malicious thing anyone's ever seen. That's where I'm at on it.
Yeah. And another scenario that could happen there. Let's say that Evans does keep his head up, notices Scheifele coming up ice, and flinches and loses control of the puck at that moment. And then we talk about how the conversation today would be the intimidation factor that Scheifele gave him on the ice. That's what you're going for. You're going to find me in the latter of this conversation saying that I don't think that Scheifele should be any kind of suspension as well. I think it was a hockey hit. You're coming around the net with up one goal, 56 seconds left in a playoff game. You got to have your head up. I was telling the guys before we came on the show, I showed the video to my wife and I realized how much more I love this woman when the first thing she said back to me was, why isn't his head up? And that's not even somebody who routinely watches a lot of hockey and she knows the rules of hockey, especially around the net. So I think it was a hell of a hit. I grew up in the year of Rock'em Sock'ems, and that's why I became a Devils fan, is seeing those big hits on the ice. So you're going to find me in the guy that says, I love what he did on the ice. He was definitely protecting his net with 56 seconds left. So it's unfortunate that he's going to have to go and get a 2-game. I do anticipate a 2-game suspension as well, but it's unfortunate that the Jets are going to be down a player who was just trying his heart out to defend his net. So.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about something that's part of that play that isn't the hit. And it's I think it's the biggest shame. Now we know Jake Evans isn't, like, he's okay. He's healthy. You know, we'll see if Scheifele's suspended. But how did nobody on the Canadiens pound the piss out of that guy? And everything goes back to this enforcer rule where if you jump in, you're the one that's going to get more penalized than the guy that actually
Shea Weber wanted to kill Scheifele at that point. But honestly, I think that there was – there's a time for that. And I think that when people realize the potential severity of the injury and the fact that he was out, I think it sort of changed things. Now, will that happen at some point in this series? I'd be stunned if it doesn't. That's the thing. And that's the thing that I'm the most interested about this for. I mean, we'll see what happens. Let's assume it's 2 games and he's out for the next couple games. I mean, let's say the Jets are able to pull off a win and not be down 3-0. So it's series on when you get to game 4. I'm fascinated about how this affects Scheifele on the ice because, I mean, he's a brilliant player, an incredible offensive cog of Winnipeg, but this is not a guy that you think of as being, a tough player. I mean, he's not that guy at all. And right. I mean, we were talking today, like, so does he have to fight somebody like right off the bat? I mean, I think he might have one slap fight at some point in his NHL career, but I mean, that's not his. And then if he does, okay, so who does he have to fight? Like Shea Weber, the toughest guy in the team? Do they go with the middleweight? Do they match him up with Cole Caulfield, someone more along his skills when it comes to dropping him? I'm not sure, but part of it, I think getting that over with would be great for Scheifele because if this is a cloud around him every time he's on the ice, I don't think that's good for the Winnipeg Jets. So, I mean, it's compounded some problems for Winnipeg that started early with the injury to Dylan DeMello and Stastny not being available. And when you add this in with the expected absence of Mark Scheifele, it puts the Jets really up against it going into these next couple games. Because as I said, you don't make it something happen after losing game 1 at home. I mean, this series could be over before it starts. Just ask the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, well, and I mean, the other thing too, and like I pulled this, and I don't know if you heard this. I heard this on another show today, but the Canadians have won 18 straight games in the playoffs when they've scored 3 or more goals, and 24 of the last 25.
Carey Price.
I mean, yeah, and that's all it is. It's they have a team that everyone looks at and says they have no business winning. They have no business being where they are, but Carey Price keeps them where they need to be, and guys like Perry and Stahl are getting hot, and they have a little bit of chemistry on their line, and those are the guys that are contributing right now.
Well,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, you mentioned Perry and Stahl. I mean, part of the reason why we're talking about a Jets-Habs series right now and not Matthews versus McDavid is that, we've seen how important in the playoffs to have depth through your lineup and guys that can contribute on the third and fourth lines. I mean, the fourth line was arguably the most productive line for the Habs in round number 1. And listen, the fourth line with Nate Thompson and Trevor Lewis, is not one that's going to be scoring very much, but Maurice played the hell out of them, was confident when they were on the ice, played them in the last 5 minutes, played them in overtime in tight games. And it couldn't be more different than what we saw from the Edmonton Oilers. And again, I thought Toronto put together, a pretty solid lineup, and it's great to have something. I mean, you lean on your depth players, but you need your top guys to show up. And I know that's been a massive conversation around Leaf Nation as to what happened to Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews. But the Habs and Jets are similar teams in the fact that 1 to 12, they're deeper than the teams that they beat, but they don't have that high-end superstar talent that, sells tickets, and it's fun to watch in the regular season. But as we've seen, Carey Price is the first $10 million player in the cap era to win a playoff series. Wrap your head around that.
Yeah. I saw that the other day. And he's like, everybody else has all been eliminated. They said the top 15 highest paid players in the league. Carey Price is the only one that's still playing right now. To get back on what you touched on about the whole Scheifele thing, if you're getting a suspension, how Montreal's going to react. If I was Montreal, if Scheifele gets suspended, I think you send a message opening face-off game 2. And then it's over and done with. I don't think you can wait 3 games because then you're not going to be playing your game. It's kind of the reverse of kind of what you said. I think regardless if he plays or not, opening face-off, have your fun, get it out with, go back and play the hockey that you've been playing. You've been playing phenomenal the last 2 weeks of the season. It's the playoffs. As far as Perry and Stahl, those guys were brought in for a reason. Montreal needed those guys that needed veteran leadership. They needed guys that have been deep in the playoffs, that have done these things, have won Stanley Cups. And that's kind of, and that's what's kind of separating them is like the Leafs, like they had those guys, but they didn't show out. And now in Montreal, those guys are now like they're contributing as guys who are 35 years old, 34 years old, like, and they're kind of taking the lead for these young guys, and it's really showing off. And of course, having the best goalie in the world, you don't have to score 5 goals to win a hockey game, and that's making all the difference.
Yeah, and I don't know if anybody else heard the big gigantic sigh of relief. I'm sure you probably heard it over there in Winnipeg from the Toronto fans after seeing Montreal blow out Winnipeg like that 3-1. Well, I'm sorry, not 3-1 going into the third there, how well they were playing above that team. And everybody thought that I thought Winnipeg was going to take this series pretty handily. I thought they're a very deep team and they were going to show Montreal what they were made of. But Montreal went in there and really kind of, showed the world or showed the NHL anyway that they're here to play too. But I just heard that big sigh from these Leaf fans. I mean, I even saw in the text, well, I'm glad that at least Montreal got a win. We didn't lose to such a bad team as we thought.
Yeah. Listen, game 1, the Jets, for all the things that they did well this year, man, they stunk coming off long breaks. And Maurice talked about it going into last night's game. I don't know if you heard the pregame. He said, well, it's been a while for us. We've done a lot of practicing, but that's not playing games. And let's just say the first 10 minutes might look a little different than the second 10 minutes. Well, the first 10 minutes wasn't very good, and I think they were down 2-0. So, it's great to acknowledge it, and it's great to speak the truth. But, at a certain point in the playoffs, in game 1 of a series, figure it out, guys. But listen, I think that if it was just a game 1 loss, we'd be thinking, not a great situation. And if Montreal lost game 1, I think they would have completely had a mulligan because of how much hockey they played going into it. So it's a huge win for Montreal. Completely flipped the script on the series. I know when you go to Coolbet right now, Jets were a slight favorite, 125. I think it got to 130 by puck drop. I mean, now that's completely swept. The Habs are in control. Carey Price is playing with confidence, and the Jets, both through bad luck and bad decisions, are going to be shorthanded and probably a very desperate team to try to even this thing up without their best offensive player.
Yeah. And I mean, like, so going off teams that were coming off of long layoffs. So obviously the Jets and the Avalanche were kind of in the same. They were kind of in the same boat. And I don't know how much of the Avalanche games you've watched, but they look like they were shot out of a cannon against the
They look like they're playing a different game, guys. I mean, I was high on Vegas coming in, and I still think that they're one of the handful of best teams in the league, and I think they're experienced. They're built for the playoffs. But I don't think that matters against the Colorado Avalanche. And the funny thing about this is, you know, if you pump truth serum into Winnipeg and Montreal fans right now, I mean, let's be real. You always want to have the dream of winning the Stanley Cup. I don't think either of these teams are winning the Stanley Cup. There's a lot of bragging rights on the line to be the team that wins the Canadian division in the 1 year they're doing it, and you know that'll be fun. But I mean, I have to say that, you know, as we go into the playoffs and into whoever wins this third round, good luck with the Colorado Avalanche. I have a feeling you'll be seeing some unders on the 4.5 games played in the series, regardless of who wins.
And like, I mean, going into that, it looks like the Bruins and the Avalanche are kind of on a collision course for the Cup. But I mean, we'll see how. I don't even really know how the reseeding will work after they win their divisions here. Do you know?
Well, it's done by points, and because Montreal and Winnipeg are the two lowest teams, and Vegas and Colorado are the two highest teams, no matter what happens, the winner of Vegas, Colorado is going to play the winner of Montreal, Winnipeg, and you're going to see Lightning or Canes up against Bruins or Islanders.
Oh,
okay. Well, I mean, that helps us look at the bracket a little bit different, but yeah. I mean, last night's game obviously was a little bit of a different story than game one. Game one, you know, I think they scored a touchdown on them, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think they had the extra point too. Yeah.
Don't forget the 9-minute power play gifted by Ryan Revo, our good Winnipeg boy. Not a very smart play, but you know. But I mean, Chad, I'm sure you'll agree. I mean, that was vintage Vegas, old time. We're getting our asses kicked. We're going to get something out of this game. Trying to send a message. The way he did it probably was a little bit overboard, considering his rap. Maybe the knee on the head was maybe a little bit much, but I mean, like that's the way Vegas plays. I mean, they're a team, and we saw it back in 2018 when the Jets played Vegas. And it's funny, speaking of that, those long layoffs. Interesting comparison to the Western Final in 2018 between Winnipeg and Vegas, where the Jets were sort of like the Habs. They came off that incredible 7-game series against the Nashville Predators, ended up winning, going into the series against a rested Vegas Golden Knights team, took them to the woodshed in game one, and everyone was already making Stanley Cup plans in Winnipeg, and then it caught up to them, and Vegas rolled the next 4 games. And I think a lot of people thought that maybe that moment was coming for Montreal. But as we said, going back to the Jake Evans said, I think what has happened, the emotions around this series coming out of game one, makes it far less likely that the Habs will suffer the same fate that the Jets did in that Western Final in 2018.
Right, exactly. And you know, going back to the Vegas Golden Knights game from yesterday, did you stay up for overtime?
Yeah. I was in the middle of being inundated with hot takes about the Scheifele hit because, of course, it was going on. But saw the penalty, which I believe you addressed a little earlier. That was a tough one. I was just happy that I didn't have any money on the game. I was too caught up in the Jet game to remember to bet it before it started. So I didn't have any skin. I wasn't as angry as I normally would have been.
We got our super boost with CoolBet. We do it twice a week. So yesterday's was the Habs and the Jets over 5.5, and the Golden Knights on the money line, and that paid plus 525 or something like that.
Nice wager. I mean, Vegas probably deserved that game. I mean, no, I don't know.
I thought so too.
Get that? I mean, it was a night and day as to what they did in game number one. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean the difference was, like, in my opinion, it was Marc-Andre Fleury was in the net instead of Robert Leonard. But that's a story for another day, a coaching decision. And if that's what they've been doing all year, then you got to roll with it, I suppose. But
Part of me thinks that DeBoer knew that, after the 7-game series against Minnesota, this was a terrible spot for their team, and said, you know what, we'll give Lehner a chance. Maybe he can go out and steal one, but at least we give Flower a bit of a rest, and we don't subject him to what I'm afraid is going to happen in game 1, which is exactly what took place.
yeah, exactly. Well, while we were coming into the show, I don't think I explained the show that I assume that everyone watched it because we watch it. But do you want to take a second and tell people about the show and what you're doing? And I mean, obviously, you had Roenick on today. The other day, I saw you had Scheifele on, which I thought was kind of ironic that everything happened last night.
Oh yeah, we gave him that Winnipeg Sports Talk bump right into the NHL Player Safety Office. Yeah, well, I mean, I've been working with Coolbet for a while as an ambassador, doing Lock Shop and stuff with Chris and Dustin Nielsen. But I, for 10 years, was the drive host in Winnipeg on TSN 1290, and we were one of the unlucky stations that got nuked by some accountant in a tall building in Toronto in February. And like, it's one thing, like in that business, you can blow a bunch of people out and change personalities and still kind of continue going. They just shut the station down. And I mean, that was really a well-established sports talk station that had been going for 10 years. And it left an absolutely massive void in the market. And, it was a little bit scary. Like, what are we going to do? But I mean, we had some great support from sponsors that were with us for a long time beforehand that said, we'll give you guys a shot to see what we can do. And so we started doing a daily podcast called Winnipeg Sports Talk. And, my partner, Michael Rivas, said, well, if we're going to be taping this anyways, let's just do it on YouTube and people can pop in. And I'll be honest, I kind of thought that we'd have 10 or 20 people that might be keeners that would want to see us actually record it, but it would all come down on the pod. They're both 50-50 now, and it's exploded. The Habs-Jets series and what happened today was absolutely gas on the fire. We hit over 8,000 on YouTube yesterday. I think we're going to be pushing 15 today in the aftermath of what happened yesterday. So the response has been amazing. We appreciate it. And there's a need for it right now. And if you guys will see, I mean, the whole industry is changing in that, it's about the content. It's about the personalities. It's about the takes and doing it in a fun way. And to be honest, it was nice for people to just be able to get their car and go on the AM radio dial, but it's not really that necessary in 2021. And there's some huge benefits to this. So yeah, if you want to check it out, we're daily 1:00, usually for a couple hours, 1:45 to 2 hours. And it's on YouTube, Winnipeg Sports Talk. Just throw it in, give us a sub. And as far as the podcast go, Winnipeg Sports Talk as well, Apple Podcast, And right now, obviously, we're all in on everything Jets. But as we get out of hockey season, we're talking a lot of football, big gambling guy. We'll do some DFS, bets every day with Coolbet, and a lot of football, hoping that the CFL gets on the field this year, or a big CFL market here. A lot of people really missing the Bombers and the chance to get out to the games. And obviously, I don't need to tell you guys what September means. That's NFL season, and hockey right after as well.
Our first guest was a Blue Bomber, so that's kind of cool for us.
Who was it?
Tanner Gaskell Caldwell, rookie.
Oh,
he
nice.
Last year. So he was our first guest.
Yeah, well, we're waiting for the blue and gold to get back to Winnipeg. That's for sure. I mean, we've been we've always been the murder capital of Canada. We've been the Slurpee capital of Canada. And now, unfortunately, we are the COVID capital of Canada. So things seem to be looking a little bit better, but we're still trailing behind the rest of the country. So we got to suck it up for another couple weeks, and then hopefully we'll sort of follow suit with everyone else that's getting closer to reopening. Get the damn shots, and then we can get back cracking beers with friends in the stands for football games, hockey games, and all the fun stuff we like to bullshit about on these shows, but have been missing actually taking part of in person.
What do you think of Edmonton's new name? Would you have preferred any other type of name than the Elks?
I'm down with it. I mean, yeah. I don't mind it. I kind of thought they were going to go with the Empire, and because that was sort of a marketing branding of them while they were their former name. Okay. It's an E name as well, and I think a lot of people thought that, but it's kind of a unique Canadian name. Certainly Edmonton up in northern Alberta, I think does it. They've already got some cool hashtags, Antler Up, and there's some neat marketing things.
Their logo looks like the dog from How the Grinch Stole Christmas with the one horn. And I can't unsee it.
Oh my gosh. Rough.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I was like, that's all I could think. I was like, it's that fucking dog.
There was the big talk as to whether it should be elk or elks.
Yeah.
And I guess they had some linguistics professor come on and let everyone know, no, it should be elk. So we'll roll with it. But
Okay,
yeah.
thanks for letting me know, because that was actually, I was going to lead into that. Actually, what did you think about the S on the end there? That's
Everyone
awesome.
was wondering, and my buddy Dusty Nielsen, who does the Nielsen show in Edmonton, we were talking about it on the Lock Shop this week, and he said, well, I mean, but shouldn't it be elk? And then they got a linguistics professor on and said, is this wrong? No, in fact, it's right. So I'm sure it'll take a little bit of getting used to. Listen, in today's climate, I understood why they changed the name, but I think for Edmonton fans, it was important to keep the green and gold, keep the double E. And if anything, I think that's actually could be sort of a benefit to them going forward with sort of something fresh and new, but still trying to maintain a pretty incredible tradition of CFL football there in that city.
As long as they didn't go back to the Rough Riders. Like another Rough Riders team.
It's good for the bottom line, because all these things that they have that say Eskimos is going to be vintage, and they're going to be able to sell it for tons of coin. And now everyone's going to need something new for the Elks. So.
Yeah, well, and you combine too with the fact that we haven't had football for over a year. People are going to be coming back. I think there will be a general excitement of average fans, even if they weren't going all the time, just to go out and be around people and do things that involve crowds. And you know what? If they can take advantage of it, certainly they'll sell a bunch of merch. And but bottom line is they sort of had to do it. They took their time. They seemed to have a lot of input from a lot of different people in it, and they said pretty much in every single study they had, Elks was either 1 or 2. So they went with it, but we'll still have the green and gold, and hopefully the Bombers will still be kicking their ass when we get going to the season.
All right. Well, we got one more thing for you if you got a sec.
For sure.
All right. We all see that flag hanging behind you, that Kansas City Chiefs flag. Now,
oh yeah.
The question before was, when did you start liking the Chiefs? Because our intern thought that you were a Patrick Mahomes bandwagon jumper. He's not on. Yeah. He's not on. And that's kind of what we did too. But
well, I will tell you. First game ever at Arrowhead was in '96.
Wow.
And we went down back. I was working. I was even before old Elvis. I mean, I think we were in the. Well, God, I don't even want to go through the embarrassing history of Chiefs quarterbacks I've seen before the chosen one showed up in town. But we went there, and I wasn't really connected. I grew up with family in Florida. I went to a Bucks game, was my first one, but they stunk. No one really paid attention to them. I was always looking. Well, trust me, back then, I mean, hey, they're the champs now, full respect. But back then, that wasn't really the team, but hey, they did win a championship and won another one.
Yeah, Chad used to get beat up in his orange sweater.
Yeah, I was a Bucks fan in the 90s. I understand. Creamsicle orange with that winking pie with a sword down his throat.
No doubt. But anyways, we went down. One of the guys I worked with at the Moose, this is right after the Jets left, his brother was the captain of the Kansas City Blades. And former Jet goaltender Doug Sotart was the general manager of the Blades. So the Moose were playing Kansas City. So we went down there to go to a couple of the games. And Doug Sotart, the GM, said, guys, I'll give you my 4 tickets for Chiefs Seahawks at Arrowhead. In exchange, you need to bring me 2 boxes of Caramilks because I can't get them in the States anymore. So that was the first transaction, Caramilks for Chiefs tickets, but went there. And I mean, as a Canadian guy, things have changed now, but I mean, 25 years ago, I mean, there was no tailgating. Our liquor laws are so, I mean, in the past, I mean, it wasn't very much fun in around, sort of games. I couldn't wrap my head around it. You get there and there's 50,000 people in the parking lot 3 hours before the game, and you're staring at the stadium and you can't even see it because there's so much barbecue smoke going up. I mean, listen, win or lose, the day was a success before we even went in, and ended up meeting a guy that's still one of my best friends on that trip. Stayed in touch, and now I've been to, I don't know, probably about 40 games. I was at the AFC Championship game, Brady versus Manning, when we got screwed by the D Ford offside call a couple years ago. And I'll tell you what, winning the Super Bowl was incredible because I've cheered for loser teams my entire life for the most part. So it was nice. And, when you go through the rough times, 1-15, drafting first overall, and see how things have turned in with KC, great place to go to watch games, incredible atmosphere. And finally, they're a great team. And I will say, Chad, with all due respect to Tom Brady, the Bucks dominated the Super Bowl so much on the line of scrimmage and in almost every aspect. I still
Front
make
four.
this
That's all we needed.
I still make this claim. If you swapped Mahomes and Brady in that game, like the opposite team, the Bucks win 70-0. So it's a revenge tour. It's a revenge. Mahomes was incredible in that game. Have you ever seen a guy get let down worse by his receivers? Tyreek Hill through the hands in the face. Darrell Williams, like the parallel throw on his side, hit a guy in the end zone in the face and he didn't catch it. So I'm still triggered by all of that. But I was pretty fired up when I heard Mahomes throw out. He'd really like to go 20-0 this year. So I'm going to wait for Chris Abbott and the Cool Bet guys to throw up a Chiefs 20-0 prop. I will be the first one to bet it. And, well, dare to dream. The only way, because I don't know if you can catch Brady when it comes to the championships. I mean, he's setting a bar that is so high. But the one way you could get one over on Brady is to run the table and get the perfect season that Eli Manning deprived him of a few years ago.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. And
I'll always love Eli for that.
Yeah, and so to our intern Josh, Andrew says "fuck you." And yeah, I mean, a guy like Brady, like I'm a Steelers fan, so my whole life I've been trained to hate Brady, and I also am a Michigan State fan, so I hated Brady even before he was in the league. So it was tough for me to say this, but I had to say it to Chad last year. Like, he's definitely the greatest quarterback of all time, and we're never going to see another talent of his generation, like in any generation, like anything. Even, you know, we have a guy like LeBron James right now who is claiming to be the greatest basketball player of all time, but he can't even be bothered to fucking stay on the court. Like when they're down by a couple of points in a playoff game. Yeah, LeBron, I mean, obviously, a couple is a different. It was like 60.
LeBron is incredible, great player, and all of that. But I mean, LeBron does what LeBron feels like. That was a perfect example of sometimes putting himself above the team and everyone else, and just sort of moving. I mean, I couldn't help but laugh. Last year, LeBron thought that the play-in tournament was the greatest thing ever. And then all of a sudden this year, when they have to be in it, it's a joke and it shouldn't be in the league. I mean, hey, you know what? When you got that much stroke and that much money and the rings that he has, you can get away with a bit. But come on, LeBron, let's be real. Although, to be honest, the funniest Lakers story to me right now was Anthony Davis and Charles Barkley referring to him as street clothes the other day. That might be the funniest nickname and the biggest dig by an on-air personality in any professional sport I can remember. And God bless Barkley. He's so funny. Somehow I don't think we're going to get those same great comedy and takes from Gretzky on the TNT hockey panel that we get from Barkley and the boys on Barkley and the boys on the Hoops broadcast.
Yeah, no doubt for sure. But look, man, we appreciate you coming on. Everyone, definitely make sure you check out Winnipeg Sports Talk. I check it out all the time. It's always on our Instagram feed. So we appreciate what you're doing. We appreciate you coming on, and let's keep betting with Cool Bet.
Absolute pleasure. Let's do it again sometime, and we get more into the primetime gambling season, into football, and we'll get you guys to come and we'll do a little powwow before a weekend of NFL or something like that. Would love to do it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, we'll figure out a boost that we can do together, and we'll take down Cool Bet $1 at a time.
And at least now I have a safe house if I ever visit Winnipeg, right?
Let's get after it. By the way, the logo, the NWO style Go for Two logo, absolutely elite. Well done on that.
Hey, man, we appreciate that, and like I said, we appreciate you, and keep doing what you're doing.
You got it, dude. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me, and may the winners be yours.
All right.
Later. Cheers.
All right, boys. I'm gonna keep you for one more quick thing, because we didn't get onto our Blue Jays, and I'm sure Liam was about to cut us off anyway. I was tricking Liam thinking that we were cutting off. Yeah. I want to know where you guys think we're at. So the Blue Jays obviously had a huge comeback win yesterday. It was the first time in, what was it, Chad, 34 games that they were losing. First time in 34 games that they were losing after the 8th inning and came back and won. And I think we just got hacked. But yeah, I think our intern just tried to hack us. But
No, he just went premature,
Yeah. So
He's young.
I want to know, like, so we're obviously primed for a little bit of a run here. George Springer's coming back. They have 3 pretty quality pitchers, but what package are you putting together to bring Max Scherzer this way? Because that's the name that I keep hearing, and that's the name that we want.
My only question is, and like I said, I'm not a baseball guy. I know Shane, you are. I'm a baseball fan. How much is it worth for the next 5 years after this?
Well, dude's a free agent after this.
So it's a one and done. So we're pretty much in the David Price situation all over again, is what you're saying.
100%.
Now, with Springer back, how close are we with one pitcher?
So if you are in a 3 or a 4-win situation in a series, and you have a guy like Scherzer and a guy like Ryu and Matz, if you get average bullpen and half decent batting, you have a shot at the series. That makes them better than what they were in 2015.
Well, then in that case, I think you have to make the move. You can't give up all of them.
Yeah.
You got to give up one of them. You got to figure out who that is. We know it's not Vladdy, so his name's already out of the equation. I don't think it's going to be Bichette either.
Definitely not Bichette.
So it's going to be Biggio, and who are you sending with him?
So you're probably looking at and the thing is, I don't know if Washington would want Biggio. I think that they would go after a guy like Gurriel or,
Teoscar?
Yeah. Well, the average baseball fan or Blue Jays fan would tell you to get rid of Grichuk, which I think would be a mistake. I think that that guy's hot and he can play center field if Springer needs a day off. But you're probably dipping into your farm system, and this Alex Manoah kid or Nate Pearson, that's probably an arm, one of those 2 dudes or one of the other up and coming pitchers from whether it's Buffalo or Dunedin or wherever the guy is pitching right now. I think that's where it would be going, and you're somewhat giving up on the future of a couple prospects, but you also don't know what you're going to get from them.
Mm-hmm. I think you have to do it if that's the case. If you're
quick breaking news: Scheifele just got 4 games.
Oh my! 4 games? Holy!
Yeah, buddy.
I think George Peros is still feeling the effects when he got knocked the fuck out.
Jesus.
Remember when that guy was just T-Rex, arms up?
So, so my question to you, Shane, you said they have to have half decent batting in order to do what in the series, what you're saying. Wouldn't they have to be giving up that half decent batting? Aren't they going to be handcuffing their offense too much in the give up in order to get Scherzer? Your defense is going to be great. You get an ace. You still got to get runs to win a game, right?
The thing is you're looking at a Blue Jays roster that has 4 MLB quality starting outfielders. So no matter what, either one of those guys is on the bench or Rowdy Tellez is on the bench. And you have more offensive depth than you need, and you need pitching. So the only logical thing is to go out and try and get it. I don't think anything's going to happen until we get into July. And if the Jays go on a 10-game losing streak, everything that we're talking about is at the door. It would actually probably be the opposite. Ryu's probably on his way out the door. But I don't see that happening. I think Springer's coming back. They're gonna be able to score runs, and they're gonna definitely add a pitcher, and they're gonna be in the Max Scherzer sweepstakes. Whether they get him or not is a different story.
Wild card sweepstakes too, I bet, though, right? No way they're winning that division.
Well, over the last couple of days, they made up a couple of games. They're only 5 out right now, and they have a couple games in hand for the Yankees, the Red Sox, and I don't think Tampa though. But anyway, yeah, you'd have to hope for Tampa to fall apart for you to have a chance at the division.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see, and we'll sign off here. But of course, we tell Liam we're going to be 20 minutes. We usually take about 40, but we appreciate him for being a good sport. And
yeah, babe,
Monday,
one beer,
Monday, yeah, Monday we are recording with a 2-time Canadian champion, and that's all we're going to say. So you're going to have to wait till next week. but our guest is a 2-time Canadian champion. Watch out. Make sure you subscribe to YouTube because, as far as I know, we're the only London podcast that's going to have a 2-time Canadian champion next week. So that seems like a worthwhile to me. And Chad, enjoy your vacation. We won't see you on Monday, but
tomorrow's Friday. Me and my family love doing what we call a little fend for yourself Friday. There's no home cooked meals on Friday nights. So if you're looking for something to order from, right, we got our folks downtown at Joe Cool's. I'm gonna get that pizza, boys. Mm-hmm.
Hey, that's a great idea. And if you're gonna get pizza, you might as well get a couple beers with it. And the wings are good there, the nachos are good. Yeah, you might as well just get the whole menu to fucking delivered and let's just make it work.
That's right. Giddy up.
All right. Yeah. All right, boys. Cheers.
Cheers.